This is Mitch with the 1000houses.com podcast, and it is my pleasure to introduce Ron LeGrand. He's the legend, the myth, and the man is right here today. The reason I have Ron LeGrand on today is it's the 500th episode of the 1000houses.com podcast, and I thought no better way to get here towards the, this landmark episode than to have one of the guys that actually was very instrumental in getting me into the business and getting me successful in the business. Getting in the business is one thing, and then figuring out how to make some money at it's another thing. Ron LeGrand was certainly a driving force in the way I was shaping my thoughts and what was possible in this industry. I can tell you from experience, I have bought a house about every 4 to 5 days in or about my hometown for over 2.5 decades. And it all started in a little classroom with this man right here, Ron LeGrand. So how you doing, Ron?
I'm good. All you just said was, I'm old as dirt. So you remember what year it was you started in that class?
Yeah, it was 1996, 97, somewhere right there.
Yeah, that worked out about right. Okay.
I walked out a year at seminar so on fire. I went to work to get enough money in the bank so that I could go a year without working, which wasn't very much money at that time, which was actually a blessing, right? When you don't make too much money, it's pretty easy to get free from your job. I was making like $35,000 a year. So I put $35,000 in the bank, and then I jumped off. The first thing I did was I went to your seminar, some more seminars of yours. And my first year, March of 1996, I bought 45 houses.
No kidding.
Because I was on fire with what you were opening doors and talking to me about things that I never knew were even remotely possible. And I saw where it was possible, and I needed to figure out if I could do it. And
sounds like you figured it out.
I have exceeded whatever I thought I was going to do or be in the financial realm or the house investing realm. I exceeded it so many times, it's not funny. I never really had any big goals, and my goal was just to get better next year than I was the last year. And it's taken me places I never thought. I suppose you maybe get tired of this by now, but thank you for the impact you've had on my life. And I'm sure there's thousands of people out there that you've had the same impact on. So thank you for what you do.
I never get tired of hearing stories like yours. Never.
Well, it's the truth. And, people would laugh at me and say, so you went to one of those scam deals? And I said, yeah, y'all just keep saying whatever you want to say. I know I can see what this man's talking about. He just told me I didn't need money or credit to go out and make a lot of money. And I didn't need to make a lot. I just needed to make a little. And so I went out there with no, I had good credit. I always had good credit, but I went out there with no money and no reputation at all, and started implementing what you said. And it didn't take long before I was on fire, Ron.
Yeah. Well, I can follow that up with a warning to your listeners. Be very careful to whom you listen, because broke people cannot teach you how to be rich. And in fact, they'll do everything they can to keep you from getting rich.
That's one of the things I got from you. I was out at first starting to tell people what I was going to do. It was so far out of the box of how people knew Mitch Stephen that they were curtailing me. They were pushing, they're trying to mash me back in that box. And I'd heard you say, be careful who you talk to. And I decided to just clam up. And there was maybe 1 or 2 people that were supporting me heavily, so I would confide in them how it was going. But anybody else I just didn't talk to, because they just didn't understand where I was at in my life, and they didn't understand what you were teaching me.
I've often taught people, get a check or 2, then you can start talking. You need preponderance of evidence.
Preponderance of evidence.
The first check is your shut up check. Shut up, go away, leave me alone.
Yeah. What did I call it? I called it hush money. I had to make some hush money to keep everybody quiet, So when did you start in this business, Ron?
March 12th, 1982. That's when I attended my first seminar, and I kind of went by accident. It was all about how to make money in real estate without any money or credit. Started to appeal to me. That seminar put me in a 2-day event that I had to go find the money to get into, and that 2-day event taught me enough to go out and do my first wholesale deal. And I literally did one. First one within 3 weeks. Got a check for a big old $3,000, but that was a monstrous check in 1982, I can tell you, and badly, badly needed. And the difference is I just kept on doing it, Mitch. Of course, everybody was telling me I couldn't do it too, but I just kept on doing it, and kept on doing it. And the next thing you know, I quit my job very quickly. I amassed over $1 million worth of equity in real estate, but I did it all wrong, trying to put tenants in there and buying all the junk in the junk areas. And I'm sure you can relate to that, because I bet you did the same thing.
Yeah, when you don't have money, you think you need to start at the lower echelons, and so that's what I did.
And that, sir, is the biggest problem we deal with today, is changing people's minds about what they can do. How worthy are they? Worthy? Can they really make the money? And that we spend more time on that than you teaching in real estate. Frankly, it's the mindset things, all it is. But it only took me about 15 years to get out of that track.
Yeah, and the same for me and a lot of people. It's a little hard. Can I share a victory with you? I have bought 4 ranches in the last 4 weeks, all multi-million-dollar ranches.
Wow.
I don't have the money to buy 4 multi-million-dollar ranches, but I had developed over the years a reputation of paying people back and giving them good first lien positions on very strong collateral. And I was able to buy about 4 ranches. A couple of them we are fixing and flipping. There's some issues with these ranches. They're not ready to move into. They're very rough. They're ugly. They're shrubbery. The roads are overgrown. All that stuff. Different from a house, but the same concept. And then the other 2, we're subdividing way out in the counties where it's real easy, and you can almost pay market for a damn for 1,700 acres. But by the time you cut it into 50-acre ranch, I call it ranchettes, but you never want to say that. Because the man that's coming out there to buy your place is coming to buy a ranch, and you don't want to demasculate him and call it a ranchette. He's buying a ranch for his family. So
I think you just made that up.
No, I didn't. So we're subdividing those. We have figured out. We've got the properties closed now. We have them. We've figured out how to unlock some equity. Some profit, and now all that's left to go out and do it. But it's about $10 million, of equity that I've figured out. Now, whether I make 7 million of that, or 5 million, or 9.5 million, who cares, right?
Doesn't matter, does it?
Doesn't matter. What do you say?
This closed on 1 2 days ago. We're going to subdivide up in Michigan, and you're right. I probably paid retail price for it, but I got with owner financing, no personal liability, 3-year balloon. Who cares? Because it'll turn into several $1 million worth of profit. Because we're actually going to do the horizontal development and sell the lots to builders, which they're in bad need of right now.
Yes, that's a new trend. And so it never ceases to amaze me how the knowledge you get, even the most basic knowledge, it can keep morphing into other things, bigger things. You can morph them into more complicated things, or you can morph them into easier things.
As we both did, and pretty much everybody that I've ever taught that's been successful did exactly the same thing. Where you are 5 years from now is not where you think you're going to be 5 years from now. If you stay in the game, you're going to figure out other ways, other cool things. And once you get your cash flow situated and your financial situation squared away, which doesn't take very long, gives you the freedom to go out and take advantage of these opportunities you wouldn't think of while you were striving to make a living.
Yeah, Ken D'Angelo, the founder of Homevestors, told me one time, he said, an entrepreneur rarely ends up with the business that he starts out to create. He always ends up morphing to the most money for the least resistance, and it'll usually take him someplace else.
You're right. Absolutely. Yeah. We're good examples of that, aren't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I do want to emphasize that I think the reason that anybody can stay in business for 20 or 30 years or more, it's got to be from an integrity level, and you've got to maintain your reputation at all times, because you're just one bad deal away from having to back up and start all over again. So,
Well, it's not hard to do that when you're actually just teaching what you do, and what you teach works. And that's a big key. What you teach works. We'd love to believe that everybody actually does anything with what they learn, but we both know that's not going to be the case. On the other hand, does everybody go to Harvard and use their Harvard degree to any great value, or any other school for that matter? So all we can do is bring them the bear. They got to skin the bear.
yes. You know, what I learned from you, a lot about what I learned from you was, is all about terms. You know, it's not all about price. I mean, who cares about the price? I mean, actually, you can get down to some ridiculous examples. I mean, I can pay $1 million for a $100,000 house if you want to postpone my first payment for 30 years, you know, and I don't care after that because I'll be dead, you know. So to stretch it out, Ron and I met in an unlikely circumstance, well, probably a likely circumstance. However, I was in an audience with Ron, and he was asking me one time, he gave a, I don't know, pretty long dissertation on how to find lost owners and owners of abandoned houses. And at one point he asked, does anybody have another way? And I reluctantly raised my hand, and I had said that I put a for sale sign in the front yard with my phone number on it, and the owner calls me every time.
On a house you don't even know who the owner is.
Yeah, no, but believe me, they call you. And if they don't call you, there's a whole nother set of things you do, because there is probably no owner at that point. They're dead or something. So, but that earned me a steak with you. I don't know if you remember or not, but that earned me an evening and a steak with you in a chapter in one of the books, you know, because you looked back at the back of the room and said, you know, I don't think we have that one. And the first thing you asked me was, are they pissed? I said, hell yeah, they're pissed. So I had to morph again. I said, they're pissed. I said, first of all, they got these people calling you that want to buy the house, but you can't tell if it's the owner acting like a buyer or if it's really someone who wants to buy the house. And you got to treat every one of them like it's the owner acting like a buyer. And you have to say to everyone who calls, you know, I probably have to take the house off the market because there's a title issue. and then if it's the owner, they will jump up and scream at you, damn right, there's a title issue. You don't own that house. That's my house. And then you know, so I learned to put for sale with a question mark on my sign so I could disarm the pissed off owner. I said, no, I wasn't trying to sell your house. I'm asking you if it's for sale. I've been trying to find you, you know. So anyways, I have some fond memories of, and I've been to a lot of courses and some of your private stuff too, some of your private. I always learn something in those rooms. And a lot of times it's coming from you, but other times it's coming from the sharp people that have the wherewithal to be in the room with you. You know what I mean?
That's the beauty of a mastermind.
Yes. And so I can't imagine where I'd be if I didn't. You know, people think masterminds are expensive. What do you say to that?
Compared to what? Compared to the price of ignorance? Believe me, I don't care. I'm in 2 masterminds right now at $25,000 each for 2 meetings a year. It doesn't matter because it only takes $1 million idea out of both of them combined to make the cost totally irrelevant. And trust me, I've never been in a mastermind where I didn't get way more than $1 million idea out of any of them. I mean, that could happen in any 10 in any mastermind meeting. And you said it best. You're hanging around with the movers and the shakers, and you create relationships that are way more important than anything you learn from the teacher at the mastermind meeting.
So I don't think that the venue where you show up at the hotel or show up at the convention, I don't think that will ever go away, because what happens in the hallways, what happens in the at lunch and dinner, I think is equally as important sometimes as what's happening up on the stage, you know, from the master of ceremonies, you know.
Or more.
Yeah.
That's where your relationships are built and your contacts are attained.
Ron, what are you most proud of in your career?
All of the thousands and thousands of people like you They got launched because I came into their life. I mean, what could you make you more proud than that?
Yeah, and you sure you never get tired of hearing people thank you?
I never get tired of it. I never get tired of the testimonials that come in. How could you get tired of that? I don't know. And
Okay.
what keeps me going?
What are some of the, we can always talk about the good things and the big checks and the fancy cars or the vacations and all that, but where was some of the darkest moments in your career?
Oh, 2008 didn't do me a whole lot of good. I had 32 different commercial projects and developments going on in 9 different states simultaneously, all with student partners. Then 2008 came and capital dried up, but more importantly, all the exit strategies that we were planning all dried up. So all of that went to hell, and that created a big mess. I'm still dealing with the after effects of that to this very day. But fortunately, I was smart enough to not let it wipe me out, because I learned how to protect myself from going to seminars and listening to the smart people. And it did not, take me out financially. I had multiple streams of income, which I'm a strong believer in. It certainly put a dent in my income, like dropped 80%, like overnight. The same with our company, Global Publishing. Literally, we had to lay off half the staff in one day. But we fought through it, Mitch, and that's the key. We just took it day by day. We dealt with it the best we could. We pissed off some people along the way because, when it comes right down to where you don't have the money to pay your bills, you can't pay your bills, you just deal with them. So we dealt with them, and we all worked it out. It took 2 or 3 years, but we finally got through it and just hung in there. And, people ask me sometimes, what's the key to you being in this business? The long answer is I just stuck to it. I wasn't chasing shiny objects and going in multiple different directions. Stuck to it long enough to perfect not only the art of buying houses, but also the art of training others. And, we've got one of the best training systems in the country. And now, because we implement for people, we don't just teach them. Training without implementation is kind of worthless, isn't it? You can go to your seminar till your ears bleed, but that's not going to make you any money until you put that into action. So we've taken all these years to set up the systems for them so there's hardly anything for our clients to do today except make decisions. In my case, I jobbed that out. There's nothing for me to do. I've never had so much vacant time in my entire life, man.
So I've been in the seminar or in the room where you were doing live calls and made deals right in front of the whole audience. And I saw it, I saw it when it didn't work out. There was calls that didn't work out. It's just like real life. And then you'd go through a handful of calls and nothing big happening. And then all of a sudden you'd hit one, and the electricity in that audience is amazing when that happens. It's got to feel good when you hit it. It's not scripted because it's too rough. I mean, I knew immediately this isn't scripted. This is really live because they don't know what's going to happen. And it was electrifying when you made the deal and they did what you said. They used the candor, they used the scripts that you had, and it just worked out. And those scripts take a long time to develop.
They've gotten better over time, and we still do that to this very day at every live event we do and every online event that we do. We still do those live calls, and then we follow up with deal structuring events every single day to tell people what we're going to do with this deal we just negotiated. I've always believed the best way to teach anything is to do it while you're watching it, and you can't dispute that it will work, especially when it's your leads that we're calling.
One of the best watch it things I ever did was I had a mentor in town, and he said, we're going to go look at some houses, but I got to stop by the post office here in a minute before we go. And so do you mind going with me? I got to go by the post office first. And I said no, because he was my mentor. I'm going to go wherever he takes me. I'm going to do whatever he's doing. And I said, what's so important about the post office today? He says, I got to drop off a check to the IRS. Would you like to look at it? It was like $650,000 was the check. And that's when it got my attention. Like I saw it with my own eyes. He wasn't joking. He dropped it in the mailbox. And I thought, this guy's no BS. It just brought my whole focus up about 7 notches, or as high as I could get it.
I would submit that he's probably not very good at tax reduction either.
Well, no, he said that was his next seminar. He says, I'm going to the next seminar next week.
Cost him $650,000.
Yeah, it's like there's always another thing to learn, right? You learn how to make the money, then you got to learn how to keep it.
You bet. You bet. In fact,